and you're Hispanic there, or Spanish, you're Hispanic. Latin America, which is Mexico South, that's Latino. So there's a kind of a difference for some people, including myself. But even the skin tone itself, the colorism, it's very prevalent in the actual Hispanic culture. A lot of people don't know, like, Cuba was a slave port. There was people who are dark African-American Cubans. If you ever get a chance, there's a band called the Afro-Cuban All-Stars, which is a mixed mulatto Africans, Cubans, and white. So you can get a really dark Cuban-American or Cuban in general, or you get a person who's blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, a lot of people don't know, Cameron Diaz is a Cuban-American. Her dad's Cuban, but people like blonde hair, blue, no, she looks white. But no, there's different shades of things. So even there is colorism within Hispanic culture. And even if you want to dive into the Native American concept of Mexicans, some who think that they're more Mayan, or I forget what the Native American, I apologize if I quote that wrong, but the more Indian Native American you are compared to more Hispanic, there's classism even with that too.
Interesting.
Now, for you, Roshan, have you ever experienced overt racism?
Yes, I've heard people have used slurs against me, racial slurs or stereotypes. Some of the ones that I can utter would be something, turban head, or really the interesting thing about being brown but not obviously from an area is that you tend to get all kinds of slurs for all kinds of people.
Yeah, bro.
So for me, it was a lot, especially when maybe some may know that I lived in Saudi Arabia. They confuse me to be Arab sometimes, so I get a lot of slurs that are catered towards Arabs, terrorist or turban head, or, and messed up part is I've even heard, like variations of slurs used against black people, but obviously modified to attack brown people.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I've gotten that, maybe not so much face to face, but more so in the form of online communication, where you might find some anonymous people coming and just attacking you online because of something that you posted, and it comes out in these ways.
But so never like personal.
Straight to your face.
I think part of it is because I came in at age 16 and came in kind of with only 2 years of high school. In high school, the worst I got were people kind of, I did feel some things, but not overtly racist, where basically I would be sitting on the front of a class, everyone would be working on an assignment, and there'd be somebody that I couldn't tell from the back throwing stuff at me. But then I turn around, but no one wants to give up who it is. So, and it was very obvious because I'm the new person. I'm the one not like the rest. So I thankfully hadn't reached any overt kind of thing, but part of it, part of playing the game is knowing how to avoid such situations, and that's what I would try to do as the new person in this country.
The thing that's so unique about you is like I said, you went from a majority culture where you would see a lot of Indians to I guess I'm just assuming that was just probably you and your family who was only Indians in Kentucky that was close to you. Like, did you have any other like Indian friends? Because I know for me, and I'll get into my story, when I moved from New York to North Carolina, if I found somebody from New York, I was like super tight with them.
Sure.
Like, you moved from Saudi Arabia to Kentucky, you like any Saudis or whatever? Any other guys here?
No, we had a lot of Indian families that moved around the same time for the same reason. Basically, we moved here because my mom got hired as a nurse with a hospital group in Kentucky. And at the same time, they were recruiting in waves. So there were waves of other Indian families as well. And the neat thing was that we all usually, if our moms were working in the same hospital, we were kind of recommended to live in the same apartment complex.
Oh, word.
So it kind of helped in that we had kind of this built-in community, about 5 or 6 different families that stayed together, and the kids were about all our age. So we had kind of our group, even if we didn't have a whole lot of friendships or connections in high school, we had that after school at least. But at the same time, there was still also a disconnect, because having lived in Saudi Arabia, the experience of me is different from someone who may have lived in India all of their childhood and moving. Because me living in Saudi Arabia, is a different experience than someone living those same years continuing to live in India.
Yeah.
So there's that disconnect as well. But I was grateful to have that, but I didn't feel like that was the solution either. So it was kind of being in a tough place where I didn't fully belong in my own community, but having difficulty adjusting, assimilating either. But what about you, Brandon?
Damn, look at that segue, bro. The segue was beautiful.
And this is when Brandon shares his background.
There's your cue card.
There you go.
My experience is very unique, and I think all of you guys can attest that one race isn't, and I know that people have used this word like a monolith. Like you just can't. There's
That's
not
a
one
$4
Hispanic.
word.
There's not one type of Hispanic. There's not one type of Indian person. There's not one type of black person. My story, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. You was either black, Spanish, or Middle Eastern, ironically. So I'm right at home.
The three amigos.
So there we go. And for those who are listening, and you can watch on YouTube as well, I definitely would do the white paper test you can use for me. I am definitely on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to black people, and I'll probably show some pictures on, like they're joking about me being albino, but I think when I was younger I was probably lighter and my hair was blonde too.
Do we have any pictures of that?
Pause.
We do.
You said we were joking or we're pointing out the facts?
Call it what you want.
Blonde hair?
Yeah, blonde. Like,
is that why you shave yourself bald?
That's part of it. And
did you know this?
No.
Yo, where's your wife, bro? We need these.
His name is Brandon Russell.
I'm gonna show the picture.
Is your middle name Carlton?
Carlton. I'll show you a picture. It's a nerdy one, Elliot. I hate it.
It was close.
Yeah.
To Carlton.
A nerdy one. Yeah, so very different from what I got now, right? Okay, go on.
Nah, get him off. So even growing up with my mother having to deal with people thinking that she dyed my hair, always just the constant stares, and I didn't grow up with my my biological father. I grew up, and I hate saying stepfather. He was the man who raised me. Shout out to Rob. And my the man who raised me, my father, is darker skinned. So I'm sure when he would come in the room with me, they would probably be like, but you was with a white woman, or just wondering if I was with him. So I'm sure he got those stares and whatnot. So that was definitely emblematic of my entire life. People, I'm just sticking out like a sore thumb, and I've always been tall too. So I would, and I kind of hate telling the story because I don't ever want to paint myself as the victim, because I got it. I learned early on that, if you got something, people gonna crack on you for it, and that's all we did at school, And so I don't want to call it a flaw, but what would be perceived as a flaw, or not the norm, I should say, was easily accessible for someone to criticize. And I learned early on that, okay, I can do the same thing back. So as cruel as people would be, I got the albino, got the white boy, got any kind of thing you can think of, and it was crazy how creative like the kids were in school to just know all these things off the top of the head and just going at me. But I was just as cruel, so I don't ever want to paint the position like I was some innocent, defenseless person, because I was snapping too.
Do you think that was part of the mechanism for you to kind of deal with it without it letting it bog you down? Or you think part of it is you actually enjoyed it, or it
the funny thing is, for those who know me now, I'm more reserved and laid back. When I was young, I was definitely more outgoing and more of a class clown. So I think I welcomed it because it would give me an opportunity just to be as mean and vicious to somebody else. Sure. So I kind of embraced it. So I think if I wasn't witty with coming back, it would have hurt me because it would have felt like I was getting ganged up on. But I probably ganged up on other people more than they ganged up on me. But I say that to say it became very apparent that this wasn't something, racism wasn't an issue that just plagued, one particular people. And I don't want to say that people are racist. The point that I'm making is that we will find anything that we can that's not the norm to make fun of someone else. Like I said, you're Indian, you're Cuban. Even within that own subset, you would find things to make fun of each other about, and you guys are the same.
Yep.
You know, whatever complexion, whatever the case is.
We both look like Ray Romano.
Whatever it would be that would be exposed, and so I think for me, and it did affect me adversely, where I never put value in my race because I understood that what does it mean to be black, because my mother's black, my father's black, but because I'm several, and I got it. So again, I don't want to paint myself as the victim, but it's like, what does it mean to be black because I'm not, the same complexion as X, Y, and Z, but I'm just as black. And so I never was really concerned about learning about black history. I didn't really care. I never was, I'm not going to be the Kwanzaa guy. I didn't really care about all of that. I wasn't going to be that Afrocentric person. And this is when I was younger, so let's throw that out there, where I did not care as much. Go ahead.
Are you now?
I'm not, and I'll get to that.
Okay.
And so growing up, I did not really care about learning that because I did not find that validation there when I was younger. And I think a lot of black people struggle with that. What does it mean to be black? And even as an adult, that's affected me, because even though I want to say I've gotten darker, but y'all still cracking the light skin and the albino jokes, and even like colorism within the black community, it's the same thing, where it's the lighter you are, the better off you have it. Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't reap those benefits because it was just me who was the super light person getting killed. So any benefit that could have been perceived, I didn't get it. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because I understand there's, people who are dark skinned and have to go through that plight. So please, I'm not being light skinned. And again, those ideas of being light skinned, being soft, being overly sensitive, I think that's what I fought against. That because I'm light skinned, that you're gonna try me, you're gonna think I'm a punk. And I feel like we're kind of from the same culture. I don't know if you had to grow up with that, where you had to prove your manhood. Don't try me like that. And so I felt like no one ever tried me too physically, but people would say little slick stuff.
Yeah.
Not knowing bro, especially when I moved from Brooklyn to North Carolina, people would definitely say slick stuff thinking I was from the suburbs or something. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm not from there. But just having to overcompensate, because I didn't want to be seen as that overly sensitive, light skinned dude. I don't know if you look like you had something you wanted to add.
No, no. I'm listening.
Just that overly sensitive light skinned person. And as I got older, just seeing how that did kind of affect me, and even to the point where I want to say around this time last year, I even did a 23andMe because I was curious. I wanted to know. I knew my mother was black, I knew my father was black, I knew my grandparents were black, but I'm like, I wonder what it is behind there. And just funny story is, everywhere I go, that's the first thing someone would notice and highlight, and they say, are you biracial or whatever it may be, or just crack a light skin joke. And we're fortunate, and for those who are listening and watching, the way I know these brothers is that we all go to the same church, and we'll kind of dive into that a little later. But we've got a wonderful pastor who I won't say his name, but he has a great sense of humor, and he would make jokes, and I love that. I would love people being able to crack jokes on me. And I don't know, you may be familiar with this term. I don't know if Roshan is familiar, but do you know what a red bone is?
That's a song.
No,
that's
never
a song.
Heard that before.
Well, even before Redbone,
More American.
America.
Even before Childish Gambino came out with Redbone, that's what you're referring to, right? The song.
I was joking with that, but there's also the comedian Redbone.
Oh, so you don't even know what Redbone means either?
I have an idea, but I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it's what you refer to as a light-skinned female.
Yeah.
And so, and no shade to my wonderful pastor, and I hope he listens to this. And to give y'all some context, we were in a meeting, and I had my daughter Autumn with me, and I think he was holding her, and he says, and she says, "Daddy" to him. And my pastor goes, "I'm not your daddy. I'm brown skin. I'm not a red bone like your father," or something like that. So I just, why do you make the crazy? I'm a save that and gift that crazy face. Hey, and no shot. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying my pastor was mean to me or nothing like that. We got comfortable enough where he could make that joke, but that was the type of things that I had to deal with. And the point of the story is, his brother has the same mother and father, did a 23andMe. and their results were posted. And so it kind of inspired me to do my own 23andMe.
Was it posted like the Maury show?
Oh, it was, because they posted it like
You are not the father.
they posted it on Instagram, and I ended up seeing it.
That's right.
So he posted it, and I was like, "Dang!" So I'm gonna post it anyway. So Pastor,
It's actually a new show called 23 and Married.
Oh,
so they posted it, and the results came back that they were like 83% sub-Saharan African, and then like 13 or 14% European. So if somebody's a betting person, if I'm going to do the 23andMe, the assumption is I'm going to be less than 83% black and more European than them.
survey says
The
results are in.
they are in.
We'll be right back at this commercial break.
And the crazy thing is, I haven't even told them yet. So this is going to be his reveal once I edit it, I'm gonna show it. Pastor, I'm blacker than you. So just those dynamics where it was so validating for me. And by the way, 88% sub-Saharan African. Check my numbers, and 9.9% European. What you say?
Wakanda forever.
Well, nah, that's old now. We can't do that. No.
Why can't I do that?
Number one, it's old.
Whoa.
It's super old.
No,
Everybody does
Black Panther is
Wakanda.
old now?
Black Panther is old, bro.
Doing the Wakanda
You said
forever.
Wakanda. You
Yeah,
said
I did.
Wakanda. Get your game. There's no girl named Wakanda forever, bro.
Racist. Look,
It's not racism.
Oh, I did. No. You know how bad it is? He said there's no girl. He didn't say there's no black girl, but I assumed he was referring to a black girl.
Look at this. Facts. Recorded video. Get these numbers. I'm out. I can't drop this mic. It's expensive.
No, it got me coughing. Number one, Wakanda is mad old and played out, so no more Wakanda jokes and Wakanda forever. Don't do no picture and hashtag Wakanda forever. We got it. And number two, unless you want to say you from the motherland.
I never said. Can white people say Wakanda forever?
No. But anyway, it all jokes aside, it was a sense of validation, because on the outside you would look at someone like my pastor and would think that, he's black. Again, what the heck does that even mean, blacker than someone else? But as far as the DNA proves, that's what it is. But even having to go to those lengths to try to find some sort of validation, I think, would reveal my own insecurities.
You know what you should do to help that even more?
Go ahead. I feel Joe coming in 3, 2. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brandon.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the 23andMe thing, you still have like a printout or a picture somewhere.
Screenshot.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to make that into a T-shirt for yourself, man.
Yo,
It won't look right though.
And
It won't look right though.
Sell them.
Sell them.
It's not gonna look
Sell
right.
them for all the albinos.
So you gotta
for
do
23
it's gotta
bucks
be.
a piece.
It's gotta be.
It's 23.
See, that's why y'all got the corny swag. I'm not gonna put that on
Bro,
a
you got
T-shirt.
corny
bro.
swag.
Dude.
I'm not putting that on a T-shirt.
You just don't. Never mind.
And then just say, 88%.
88.
More blacker than you.
Black.
whatever.
No, that's what I'm blacker than you. That's gonna be my thing.
Is
But
that 88% more woke?
again, don't you woke is no. We're not doing Wakanda forever. We're not doing woke.
I didn't
Man,
know
you so
about that, bro.
outdated,
Leave it alone,
man.
bro. Gosh,
Yeah,
man.
it's like you hung around black people just for a little bit, and now you got to pick up a Wakanda
I wasn't born
and
in the
woke.
U.S. and Donald Trump might change the citizenship rules any moment, so I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize.
Exactly, exactly. So, but
So many jokes. So little time.
but that definitely affected me. And even though I was found with so much validation and so much pride and knowing that, giving some sense of identity, what am I truly finding that identity in? Because even I think it affected me to the point where it's like I didn't want to mess with any like light-skinned girls, because I didn't want my children to have to endure what I went through with the teasing and stuff. So even though I have a beautiful brown skin
She's gorgeous.
daughter and wife, I felt that it was just that idea, that thinking was so just backwards, and just again shows you the layers and the depths of racism, where it's like, because I want to be a certain complexion, that's going to validate my blackness and things like that. But even talking about relationships, both of you gentlemen are in interracial
And
relationships.
some might argue all three of us are.
I knew that joke was coming too. So you're smart. You're smart. I knew that joke was coming.
Slap hands.
That was a
Slap
great
hands.
joke. That was a great joke. That was a great joke. So yeah, all three of us are in interracial relationships. Haha.
So,
But before I even get there, because I don't know if we'll even have time to go there, but these guys are no. What I wanted to do is we talk about terms but don't define them. How do you guys define racism? Because I think having racist jokes, is that necessarily racist, or what do you define as racist, Babo?
go right ahead. No, let Roshan go first.
Go ahead, Roshan.
All right. So, if someone makes a joke and I don't find it funny, it's racist.
Battery.
So
That's fine. We're just gonna have to rock with that one. Go ahead.
that's my standard.
Sorry,
That's
we
it?
Someone says a joke and I don't laugh.
Mhm.
That's racist.
So if I said, why did chicken cross the road?
That's racist.
Wow, bro, because the KFC was closed? Like, that's kind of crazy.
Wow, that's actually maybe kind of racist.
How?
KFC.
All right, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Have you been to
I'm from
Kentucky?
Kentucky. That doesn't mean I eat KFC, okay?
So-
that's racist.
Let me ask you this question. Like, can I be like a little bit
Okay.
serious real quick?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna. Sorry for the derail.
No, I'm actually, it's actually
Serious.
good,
Okay.
serious.
Yeah.
So I had someone come up to me going, Babo, because you're not from Cuba, you're not really Cuban.
Yeah.
And people, since you grew up in Kentucky,
Yeah.
I want to ask, like, do people even say because you grew up some years in Kentucky, you're not really Indian anymore?
It's funny. There's actually part of that there, totally within the culture or within our people group, where we have a name for those people. Kind of like, we hear these different names, right? So you call coconut, brown on the outside,
white on the
on
inside.
That's one thing that we hear. Or we have a little abbreviation called ABCD.
Okay.
It stands for American Born Confused Desi. And Desi is just a small term for Indian person.
Okay.
And so the idea is that they call these Indian people ABCDs within the community.